How in the world are you? I'm dying to know. All of my life, as long as I can remember, in fact, multiple times throughout every single day of my life, I have asked myself, is it cheaper to buy a shed or to build a shed? And in this series, we're going to figure that out. I've done my due diligence. In fact, I've went to at least 2 different yards where they build sheds, custom sheds, or right off the lot. And the prices are staggering. They're outrageous. I want to go on record and say that I'm not slighting these companies in the least. No one has misled me or anything of that nature. However, I'm just not comfortable spending the rate that they are charging in 2021. That being said, the prices have been fairly consistent. So I'm confident that they're doing a great job, and that's just the way that it is. If you want a shed and you can't build it, you got to buy it. I'm not suggesting it's highway robbery. I'm just wondering, is it cheaper to build or to buy? Well, we know the answer to that. So in this series, I'm going to build a 12 by 16 shed that I will be using for my own personal business, which is a side business that I do apart from the pressure washing, which is where I make grill grippers. I'll explain all of that later. Nonetheless, I'm needing a nice, warm, cozy environment in the winter months to make grill grippers and jug hugs and the different things that I do to offset my income in the winter. This series will be solely about pricing, figuring out which is cheaper. So this is not a tutorial on how to build a shed. So minus the rock that I'm using as the bedding for my stringers, and of course the block that I'm using to put on top of the bed, everything else will be considered as cost or expense to building this shed. But let me say this real quickly. I toured the yards and I just wasn't convinced that that was the route that I wanted to go. I liked the product with the exception of maybe 3 things. I did not like the fact that at the yards that I went to where they were building these sheds, that the ceiling or the roof did not have joists that were on 16-inch centers, rafters rather. But rather they were on 4-foot centers. So a 16-foot shed had 4 rafters. I don't know, that seemed, maybe it will hold. I guess it will hold. They've been doing this for a long time. Maybe they know more than me. But I wanted 16-inch centers. Secondly, the windows that they use are more like storm windows. They're like maybe 1.5 inches thick. I want real windows. So I'm going to put in real windows. The same as with the doors. The doors are made on site and it's a barn type of a door. They shut perfectly. They were sturdy. Just not what I'm wanting. I'm wanting a nice exterior steel door for my shed. Can I do all of that cheaper than buying one? We're going to figure that out. So in this episode, which has already ran too long, I apologize. I'm going to be laying the bed for the 12 by 16 shed. You can see, maybe you can see, there's a corner, there's a corner, there's a corner, and there's a corner. That's 12 by 16. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my trusty lawnmower and I'm going to mow that nice and low just so I can see what I'm working with. And then I'm going to take the rock that I have purchased and I'm going to spread that out evenly beyond the perimeter of the shed. And then I'll lay out my 4x4 stringers and then begin to build the floor. My first stop was at Lowe's, where I found the lowest price for materials thus far. I got 2x4 by 16s, 2x4 by 12s, and the 4x4s that I'll be using as the bed stringers. And so, yeah, I think I've got everything. When we come back, I will have, at the very least, I'll have the rock down, and we'll see what we do from there. My hope is to finish the floor today, at least everything minus the plywood, because I'll still have to go back and get the plywood. But if I can get all of that done today, so be it. Hey, appreciate you joining me. Don't go away. This is going to be fun. All right, we are at the end of day one, and I'm more than satisfied with where we are. The sun's going down, it's getting dark, starting to get cold, and it's time to wrap things up. What I'm going to do at the end of every episode is give you a price of all the materials as it stands at this point. So we are done with the floor, minus, of course, the plywood, and what you see here, minus the rock and the stone, which I would have had to have purchased regardless if I were going to buy the shed. Everything what you see here is $385.46. $385.46. Tomorrow we'll be laying plywood, and Lord willing, I'll have all of the walls framed. That's the plan. We'll see what happens. So there you have it. So that's where we're at thus far, and Lord willing, again, we'll start up in the morning. It's supposed to be a little bit warmer and hoping to accomplish a little bit more. So, hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget, always have fun.